Hey guys, we're here in Warframe again, and today we are checking out Limbo. This is my Limbo Prime. I also have regular Limbo, which you can get from doing the Limbo Theorem quest, but I prefer my Limbo Prime. I also love the skin that he has on right now. So I'm going to go ahead and take him into a solo mobile defense and show you what he's all about. Alright, we're here on Saturn on mobile defense, and I'm going to go ahead and show you his first awesome thing that he does. It's not really like an ability so much as a constant thing. Basically, if you double tap left bumper or do any kind of like roll dodge, you go into what's called the rift plane. Now first off, there's a portal here, and that lasts for like 5 seconds, and then anybody that I'm playing with can actually hit that portal and also go into the rift plane for about 15 seconds more if I have more duration. And then they can leave the rift just by letting the timer count down, or they can double tap the left bumper and roll again out of it. Now this is really handy because I don't take any damage from any enemies that are in what's called the material plane, because you can only take damage from people in the same plane. So like this guy right here, no, aggro him, and he can't do anything to me. The downside, I can't do anything to him until I hop out and then attack him and hop back in. Now another thing is you can't pick stuff up while you're in this. So like I have vacuum on, so here let's find some loot. Alright, so I opened some of these boxes and then I went in the rift. Now I have vacuum on, so my sentinel will pick the stuff up and it'll follow me around until I leave the rift. But if I didn't have vacuum on, I wouldn't be picking any of this up. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave the rift, collect that stuff, kill that guy. Then I go back in the rift and I can pretty much go wherever I want without taking any damage. You also don't take, if I can not go into walls, you also don't take damage from like, let's say I hit a cold barrel and it blows up next to me, or here. So I should be taking damage because I had blast damage just then. I took damage until I went in the rift and then I stopped taking damage. Now if you're doing like a sortie or something that has a cold environment, you can go through it in the rift, no problem. Now the problem is you can't pick stuff up when you're in the rift. Like I just reloaded instead of picking up this data mass. So I'm gonna hop out of the rift, kill the enemies around me, pick up this data mats, hop back in the rift, and I'm on my way. So I'll fast forward to when I get over there and I'll show you more of his moves. So I was hoping that while I wandered around here I'd come across like an arc trap or something and then I could show you how he goes through those, but you'll just have to take my word for it. If there was an arc trap on the ground, I would not take damage from it if I was in the rift. If there was like a sensor bar above the doorway here that puts up that force field, you can walk right through that force field, no problem in the rift. If you're doing a spy mission and they have those lasers that set off alarms, you can walk through those no problem too. Pretty much anything like that is fine. The only thing that can get you is the nullifier bubbles. They can take your, they can put you back in the material plane is what it is. It takes you out of your rift lock. So now I'm going to show you the best move. I'm going to skip ahead to his fourth move. I'll show you the other moves here in a second. But his best move is super handy for mobile defense and stuff like this. Now first off, if I was in the rift and I go to put this data mass in, I can't actually do it. I have to leave the rift to do it. Oops, I went right back in the rift because I went through my portal. Now I'm going to use his fourth move, his Cataclysm.
This will take a moment.
This puts a giant bubble, well right now it's giant because I have super range on it, and everything in this bubble is in the rift. Now I'm going to show you one of his other moves. It's called Stasis, and basically everything that's in the rift will freeze in place when I have Stasis on. So now you see no damage is coming to the Grenier system here. I can kill all these guys no problem without them attacking me. The only downside is I can't kill people outside the rift. Let's see if I can find an enemy outside the rift. Okay, so see those guys back there? It's hard with the door opening and shutting. Oh my god. So, come on door. Work with me here. Alright, they're getting closer. I can't damage them from inside the bubble because they are on the material plane and I'm on the Limbo rift plane. But if I go out of the bubble, I could damage them no problem. And of course I can damage anybody that's in the bubble. So I'm going to go ahead. You see here that Stasis is running out. That's over. Now everybody in the bubble is moving suddenly, so I got to turn it back on. You don't actually have to be in the bubble to turn on your Stasis again. You can turn it on from anywhere in the map, and then wherever your bubble is will still... Oh shit, why am I taking damage? That was weird. Wherever your bubble is, it'll still have everything go into Stasis. And this also works for anything that's put in the rift that's not in a bubble. I'll show you here in a second. My bubble's about to run out, so I'm going to have to reset it here. While that was resetting, you see that these guys were all shooting at me. You gotta be really careful when you reset the bubble. If you have too many enemies up around the outside, you will take a lot of damage when they all start shooting you at once. So I recommend trying to clear out enemies, not just sitting in your bubble doing nothing like some people like to do. Okay, so I finished the mission and I'm just kind of collecting enemies right now. I was hoping that more than one enemy would spawn right here. So you're just going to have to pretend with me a second. So let's say I'm fighting this enemy and there's like a bunch of enemies back here. And I only want to fight this guy. So I would go up to him and I would hit my first move, that's Banish. That puts him in the rift. So right now he can't do any damage to me, so I can heal up a second. Nobody else is around. But if I just wanted to fight him and I didn't want to fight all these imaginary enemies back here that are not really here, I would go into the rift and just fight him. And then I can go out of the rift and worry about the other enemies again. So it's really handy. You can also use Banish on things like the Tenno Operative when you're doing sortie missions with defense where you have to guard Tenno Operative. You can banish the Tenno Operative into the rift and they'll be safe until your timer runs out. Usually that's about 15 seconds, but I have my duration really high and I'll show you guys my mods here in a second. Now when you use Banish, you don't always just get one enemy. It kind of does a bunch of enemies around it, so I'm going to try to find a group of enemies and show you that. Like here's some right here actually. So I'm going to banish both those guys because they're close together. Now I can worry about this guy. Oops. He's not paying any attention to me. And then I can go on the rift and fight these guys when I feel like it. It's a good way to control the map. I mean, that's basically what Limbo is something to control the map. So I've pulled up my bubble one last time here to show you that I have a white bubble. So I'm using like a white clear energy. I usually have a darker energy bubble because it makes it more see-through. Like if you can use black, that's usually the best. It makes it like almost transparent. And it's not so much obstructing your view as the white bubble would be. But otherwise, yeah, I'm just going to head toward extraction. Now, let's say there was a ton of enemies around and I had my teammates with me and my teammates keep dying and all I want to do is get to extraction. I can go in Limbo here and be just fine, but I want my teammates to go with me, so I can do that portal thing I mentioned right there. And if they hit that portal, they'll go through into Limbo with me for 15 seconds or more if I have my duration up. And then we just breeze right on through to extraction. We go the right way. So he's good for getting out of tough spots, and especially good for mobile defense and excavation and stuff. And let me go ahead and show you my mod layout. Alright, I'll show you his mods here in a second, but I forgot to mention one thing. When you're doing the Cataclysm, that big bubble, you can't kill enemies on the outside from the inside or vice versa. But if you use like your moat amp with your operator or some of your Warframe abilities, those can actually go through the bubble. Like if you use Mag's Polarize or something through the bubble to the guys on the outside, you can actually use that. You just can't hit them with regular weapons. Also, stasis can be really handy if you're trying to scan feral Kavats or doing like a synthesis target, because you can just put them in stasis, freeze them, and then scan them just fine. But anyway, let's get on to his mods. So here I have Big Ass Bubble. That's the one I was using just now, so I could show you just how big his bubble can get. And actually, I have his range at 232, and I could have made it even bigger, because I have Cunning Drift, Augur Reach, Stretch, and Overextended. But I also use Narrow Minded, and I sacrificed some of his range to get more duration, because that duration is super important. Now this bubble is super huge. Usually you start at 100% range. So energy reduction is for the sorties where you have energy reduction, go figure. So I use Prime Flow for more energy there, and I use Efficiency with Streamline. But I also still have that Narrow-Minded to make his range go down. I have some Stretch on there, not a fully leveled up one, to give him a little bit more, but not quite a full 100% because it's just a little bit smaller and more manageable bubble. Now I have Health and Shield on here. You could replace that with Strength or whatever really that you want. I don't think the Strength is that important. You really only use it for when you're bringing up and putting down the Cataclysm or when you're banishing someone, and I'd rather have more duration and worry about focusing on the right size range. So I have Baby Bubble here. Bet you can figure out what that's for. It's super tiny. The range is 52%. That's because I did not put any range mods on except for the one that takes away range here, Narrow-Minded. I don't have that leveled up all the way, so I could make it even smaller if I wanted to. But then, like I mentioned before, the bubble does get smaller as the time goes along, and eventually it's too small to really cover anything, and it's not very helpful. I used up some of these extra slots here for shield and health. It's not really necessary because you can spend all your time in the rift, but it's also helpful too. And then, of course, I have duration super, super high. If you can get prime continuity, that's great. If not, max out your regular continuity. Do whatever you can to make your duration super high. I have power drift on here. That's not that important. I could do a different Exilus slot mod, but I just threw that one on there for a little extra strength. And then, of course, I rock Energy Siphon because you are going to go through a lot of energy, pulling up your Cataclysm, putting up your stasis, pulling down your stasis. You're just using energy nonstop, so it's really helpful to have Energy Siphon on. Otherwise, I think that's about it. I can't think of anything else that you really need to know for Limbo. If you have any questions, please post them in the comments. I will do my best to help you. I would really, really appreciate it if you could take a second and subscribe. I'm trying to get 2,500 subscribers to become a Warframe partner. That would be really awesome. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it helped out, and I'll see you guys next time.